Ever wonder what truly holds value when the world turns upside down? It's not always what you think. Cast your mind back to 1932, a time when fear gripped the nation and banks slammed their doors shut. In that terrifying uncertainty, a humble tin of coffee wasn't just a morning pick-me-up, it was currency, capable of buying a whole week's labor. While many buried their precious gold coins in backyard jars, hoping for a brighter day, farmers and city dwellers alike were bartering everyday essentials: a needle, a bar of soap, a pinch of salt, just to keep their families fed and alive. History paints a stark picture. When the financial system seizes up and credit vanishes, those mundane, often overlooked items become hard currency long before any shiny metal ever does. If you're picturing some post-apocalyptic Mad Max scenario where gold bullion becomes the ultimate power, you need to rewind your mental tape back to the gritty reality of the Great Depression. Survivors from that era weren't flashing Krugerrands or gold doubloons to get by. No, they were quietly hoarding 5 surprisingly boring basics that could easily fit under your kitchen sink. Stick around, because I'm going to walk you through the exact, unassuming items your grandparents or great-grandparents actually traded for food, for fuel, and even for land, when the very dollars in their pockets turned to nothing more than decorative wallpaper. These weren't luxuries, they were lifelines. Section 1. Coffee and tea. Can you imagine paying your rent with a £2 tin of Folgers? It sounds wild, but in 1933 in Mobile, Alabama, that's precisely what happened. Think about it. Caffeine isn't just a habit for many of us, it's a deep-seated addiction, and addictions create rock-solid, unwavering demand. When times get tough, people don't just want comfort, they desperately crave it. They yearn for a sense of normalcy, a ritual to anchor their day in a sea of chaos. That familiar jolt, the aroma filling a cold room, is a powerful psychological balm. Coffee and tea provide exactly that. More than just a substance, it's a social lubricant. The ability to offer a visitor a warm cup builds trust and community, precious commodities when society frays. Storing whole beans, or even bricks of cheap black tea, in mylar bags with an oxygen absorber is a trivial expense today. But in a prolonged crunch, you're sitting on a commodity that could easily outprice silver, ounce for ounce. It's not just a beverage, it's a morale booster, a powerful trade good, and a tiny, steaming piece of civilization in a world gone cold. Section 2. Sewing needles and thread. Picture this. Your only pair of work pants has a torn knee, your child's coat has a split seam, and every store in town is boarded up. Suddenly that tiny, seemingly insignificant sewing needle becomes an indispensable high-tech tool. During the Depression, it wasn't uncommon for a single darning needle to pass through 4 different households, bartered and borrowed, simply because new ones couldn't be manufactured or bought. The ability to mend wasn't a quaint hobby. It was a frontline defense against poverty and exposure. A simple repair extended the life of essential clothing, which meant keeping a breadwinner warm enough to work or a child safe from the elements. A gallon freezer bag filled with an assortment of mixed needles and a variety of sturdy cotton threads costs you less than $10 today. Yet, in 1934, Kentucky, a single spool of blue thread was reportedly enough to trade for 2 laying hens. That's an almost unbelievable return on a minuscule investment, offering not just utility, but genuine bartering power when all other resources are scarce. Section 3. Soap. In a world without reliable running water or modern sanitation, cleanliness spirals from a preference into a life-or-death struggle. When public services break down, diseases like typhus, dysentery, and cholera, which we now only read about in history books, can make a terrifying comeback. In that environment, a simple bar of soap becomes a critical defense, while resourceful grandmas in the countryside might have been making lye soap from rendered animal fat and wood ash. City folk, without the space, the resources, or the knowledge, were in a dangerous bind. They would gladly swap precious food or a day's wages for a simple wrapped bar. Why? Because the fuel required to boil water for washing or the raw ingredients for homemade soap were often just too expensive or impossible to come by. Stocking up on generic laundry soap and basic long-lasting bath bars is a no-brainer. They're light, they last forever, and they are a cornerstone of basic first aid, crucial for cleaning a wound to prevent a deadly infection. One 12-bar pack today might set you back the price of 2 fast food meals. Post-collapse, that same pack could mean the difference between health and sickness for a family, giving it immense barter value. Section 4. Salt. Before refrigeration became a standard in every home, salt was quite literally the magic that preserved life. It was the only reliable way for the average person to preserve meat, fish, and other foods for extended periods, preventing spoilage and ensuring there was food to eat through the lean, frozen months of winter. The science is simple but crucial. Salt draws moisture out of food, creating an environment where the bacteria that cause rot simply cannot survive. Records from the Oklahoma Dust Bowl, a tragic chapter of the Great Depression, show that a 5-pound sack of salt was once traded for a sturdy pair of work boots. That as how vital it was, a trade of future food security for the ability to perform the hard labor needed to survive today. Iodized salt, when stored in a sealed bucket and protected from moisture, lasts indefinitely. You can buy it by the 50-pound bag today for less than the cost of a single pizza. With that one purchase, you've locked in the eternal preservative, a fundamental cornerstone for food security that will hold its value and perhaps even surpass gold when fresh food is a distant memory. Section 5. Safety. Razor blades. Even in the grimmest of times, people cling to their dignity and the primal need to appear presentable. A man in the 1930s looking for a day's labor knew that showing up with a week's worth of stubble could get him passed over for someone with a clean-shaven face. A smooth shave signaled self-respect, discipline, and employability. This made a single Gillette blade, good for maybe half a dozen shaves, a hot commodity, reportedly fetching a coveted can of peaches on the barter table. It's a small detail, but these things speak volumes about human nature. Modern disposable blades don't expire. They're incredibly cheap when bought in bulk from warehouse stores, and they are an item almost nobody thinks to stockpile in any serious quantity. $10 today could get you 100 blades, enough for daily shaves for 2 years, or, more importantly, enough to trade for 20 pounds of flour when supermarket shelves are utterly bare. It's a small, sharp edge in a world that's lost its polish, giving you leverage when others have none. If these surprising swaps have got you thinking differently, then hit that subscribe button. Next week, I'm digging into the 6 essential skills that weigh absolutely nothing, yet could keep your family fed and safe when the trucks stop rolling and the supply chains vanish. You won't want to miss it. Look, gold is beautiful. It glitters, it shines, it represents wealth, but you can't eat it, you can't wear it to stay warm, and you certainly can't stitch a wound with it. The harsh reality of the Great Depression proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that true value lives in the simple, practical items people actually use to stay clean, fed, healthy, and maintain a shred of dignity. Start stacking these 5 incredibly cheap, often overlooked items now, and you'll walk into the next collapse holding genuine purchasing power, not just a collection of shiny, useless doorstops. Now, I want to hear from you. Which overlooked essential are you adding to your pantry this week? Drop a comment below and let's get the conversation going.